All right, welcome everyone to the Make Time to Scale Your Business live webinar. I'm Travis Perry, and joining me today is Lawrence Law. Lawrence, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Absolutely.
So, like a lot of webinars, oftentimes kind of impersonal, and today we're kind of taking the other way around, and we've invited Lawrence, if that's okay with you, Lawrence, to go a little bit deeper in learning how to scale your practice, learn how to scale your business. Lawrence has a financial practice that he's running it's very successful, and I know he's interested in this topic. So with that, Lawrence, is it all right if we continue?
Yes, it is. You bet.
Fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Just give me a second here. And what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at what some of the main issues the business owners have, financial professionals have in scaling their business. And as just a quick intro, I don't want this to all be about me, I want this to be about content for you. But just as a quick intro to me, I was a financial advisor who spent a lot of time working with business owners, helping them with their practice. And I found that consistently, time after time, I'd give great advice, or I thought it was great advice, and I was helping them to structure their financial plans, get out of debt, save for emergencies, invest in the market. And a lot of time, these self-employed financial guys, business owners, really were not able to implement. And it was a consistent thing that I saw. And so I learned more about time management on the business side. And that really helped a little bit. It helped to kind of, hey, how do you scale your business? How do you do things differently? But then I found that a lot of people that I was training with this newfound knowledge and wisdom weren't actually ever leaving their business. They weren't scaling their business because they found they could be more productive, but they'd continue to work those 70 to 80 hours a week without breaking away, without creating boundaries. I wanted to know more about that, and I began learning from other coaches. I went to trainings, and finally I just bit the bullet and said, it's time for me to go back to school. And I did a master's degree and eventually even a PhD to learn more about the personal and family systems that are behind any business owner. So yeah, I'm a little bit overeducated in this area, and I want to share this knowledge because it's helped now me give this back to business owners and help them with really the two biggest issues that I've seen in not being able to scale their business. It's not the business systems itself, it's actually them. It's their relationships, it's their family. And I've got Lawrence with us here. Lawrence, would you give an amen to that? Do you agree that that's a big issue for a lot of business owners?
Oh, absolutely. I found that trusting someone else to do what I will do and the passion that I have is really difficult. And so oftentimes I would do the work myself because I trust myself rather than, give it to somebody else to trust them with it. So yeah, putting in 50, 60, 70, 80 hours of work in a week is normal.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily healthy, is it?
No, no, not at all.
Well, so what we're going to be doing today, while we're going to be talking about the business systems, we're also going to be looking at the individual and family systems that are related to help you scale your business. So what you're going to be talking about today is a real life situation. We're going to look at Lawrence's situation in his business, and we're going to walk you through a worksheet that I use with all my coaching clients and those that purchase my online training. So with that intro, this is a typical financial advisor, business owner who's just, on average spends about 71 hours a week working in their business. And they would like, sources tell us, they'd like to be at around 42 hours a week, okay? Um, Part of that, again, is just exactly what Lawrence mentioned, the fact that we can't delegate, the fact that we have all of these tasks, wanting to do all of these things. One of the best books I've ever read on business systems and productivity is called The E-Myth. I've got it over here on my shelf, and I hearken back to it a lot of times in those principles that are there about business systems, and that is fantastic. Because you'll see this guy here, this is a typical business owner who spends a lot of time doing tasks. Stephen Covey had his grid system, his proactive, reactive, urgent, non-urgent tasks that we respond to on a daily basis. And that's also a great way. But what I found is that most business owners don't ever actually take the time to ask themselves, what am I doing? What are my tasks? What is it that I'm involved with every day? And how is that affecting my bottom line? So I came up with this wonderful exercise that Lawrence is going to be able to walk through with us today. It's called the Business Time Management Worksheet. Now, what we're going to do here, and I'll make this available to anybody who would like this worksheet. It's pretty simple, but we're going to go top to bottom, left to right, examining what our current hours that we work on an average basis, to basically looking at all of the activities that we do in a normal work week. So I'm going to go ahead and transition over to that worksheet right now and share that with you. So give me just a second here. There we go. And Lawrence, I'm going to use you today as the guinea pig, as the example, and treating this really as a coaching call to see how this might work. Okay. So with that, and the acknowledgement that I've not put you up to this, right? There was no formal pre-condition. No. This is all live.
This is a surprise, yeah.
And I appreciate you being.
And I'm gearing myself up for revealing my my weaknesses here. Okay.
I appreciate you being vulnerable on that. So what we're looking at is a business time management worksheet that I've created over years and years of working with business owners to try to help them understand and then be able to offset. The only really way that we can scale our business is if we have to figure out what's worth scaling. What tasks do we want to do? What do we want to hang on to? And how might that look? So we're going to do that today. By the end of this call and this webinar today, Lawrence, you're going to be able to have a worksheet that I'm going to send off to you. So that is your treat, your reward for acknowledging, as you've mentioned, your weaknesses. But I imagine there's going to be some really good things here for you that you're going to have some light bulb moments. So we're hoping for that.
Okay.
So first off, we're going to go, like I said, left to right, top to bottom. On average, how many hours are you currently working? Now that means how many hours are you spending, at the office, at home, if you have a home office, traveling hours, networking, planning, goal setting, accounting, bookkeeping, all the things, like all of those task items that you saw in that previous picture. If you combined all those together on an average work week, where would you say you are at?
Let's see. If we go, really, I start my day about 9 o'clock, seriously working, and then I'll probably finish around 7.
Okay.
So,
about a 10-hour work day.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And then do you work any weekends or nights?
No, I try to avoid working on weekends or evenings as much as I can, but sometimes you have appointments that go late, so maybe 1 or 2 a week. So
okay, so roughly how many hours do you think that you're working? It's at least 50, right? Five
Yeah.
times
Let's say
10 hours.
60. Yeah. Let's say
Okay.
60.
That's pretty typical, right? That's pretty typical of a business owner. And tell us, in two sentences, Lawrence, what exactly do you do for your clients?
Um, I help my clients identify the weaknesses in their financial strategies and provide solutions so that they can be able to maximize the dollars that they are using, and so that they can do multiple things with those dollars at the same time.
Great. So you have a lot of clients, you're advising, you're counseling, helping them with their strategies. Um,
Correct.
Phenomenal. And
Yep.
in those 60 hours, you're going to be doing a lot of different activities, and we're going to talk through these different activities. Now, if somebody said, okay, Lawrence, and don't be modest, Lawrence, on this question, but just be honest. If someone was to say, okay, Lawrence, this is how much you're worth per hour, what is that value per hour in a dollar amount?
What am I worth, or what am I paid?
We're gonna get to that. That's the paid over here. That's a
Okay.
different column. Yeah, we're gonna go there.
I'm worth $1,000 an hour. I mean, really. Um, for my clients, yeah, that would be real.
Okay, so that's that. Let's be realistic with this as well, because being paid one thing and being worth, you're thinking, yeah, that's my worth. But if somebody had to come in and do your job, what would you pay that person to do it as good or better than you?
You want me to be honest?
Yes.
$1,000 an hour.
All right. So we're gonna stick with it. Okay. So $1,000 an hour. We're gonna look at now, and I'm gonna ask you to reveal this if that's okay, Lawrence. We're gonna look at some reverse math, and that is to find out what it is that you're actually getting paid per hour.
Mhm.
And that might not even be what you're charging your clients. It's just an average, let's just say on an average month, what are you bringing in to your business? How, how money, what's the gross amount of fees that you're bringing into your company?
Um, I would say um, right now it's only about 10,000 a month.
Okay, so if we had 10,000 a month, and it's pretty simple, we'll divide that by 240 for 4 weeks of 60 hours worked a week. And that gets us actually to an actual value per hour of $41 per hour. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, regardless of where this dollar amount really is, I mean, even if this was $100 per hour, even if we said, okay, our stated value, at least almost double it, there's some improvement here that you need to work on to scale your business to go from $41 per hour to $100 per hour, right?
Yeah,
Can we
right.
acknowledge that? Okay.
Yes.
So that is exactly what we're going to do today on this call is we're going to, by the end, we're going to be able to say, here's all the activities that you're doing. And we're going to find what are the ones you need to delegate, that you need to delete, or eventually phase out of. And I'm going to show you how to do that and give you some tips on how this really works. Does that sound exciting?
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, this
Sounds
isn't the
good.
rah rah. This is nuts and bolts.
That's what I need. Yeah.
But I think I've done this exercise with literally hundreds of business owners, and every single one at the end has thanked me. Some thanked me profusely, and begged me to coach them on how to do this. And yes, that's what I do. I'm a coach. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. All about how to improve your business productivity through personal systems. So we'll get there if that's something we'd like to talk about with anyone watching. So number one, I've already filled this out. Your number one rank that you don't know that you need to do, Lawrence, is something called processing. Okay. Now, processing is, and this is the definition or the boundary, is really systematically clearing all of your collection sources. Now, if you've been in the training or you've been online to watch the videos that are previous to setting this part of the training up, I identify collection points or sources as anything that collects information. That might be, I'm just showing my wire basket here. That might be paper, right? You get mail. Don't we all get mail?
Yeah.
And we get electronic mail or email, and we get lots of junk, don't we?
Uh-huh.
So, and I've got a whole training all about how to get your inbox, not down to inbox zero, although that's in theory a great idea, but how to work through all of your emails, because I save and archive most of those now and have rules set up and other things. But to get through all of your emails, you're not spending hours doing that. But then also on our phones, all of us, we have text messages, we have notifications that show up from our calendars, from our social media. And now social media has kind of integrated into our business marketing strategies for a lot of us. Lawrence, do you use social media at all?
I do. Yeah. Facebook, yeah. LinkedIn. Mm-hmm.
So you're getting notifications probably throughout the day from all of those sources, right?
Right. Yes. And they interrupt quite often.
Exactly. And as it interrupts us, we're taken away from those higher, more pressing activities that we can normally be doing if we were a little more focused. That doesn't mean we should do those activities, but we will identify what those are as we get into this activity. But I want to make something clear that anytime that there's a notification, an information, a voicemail, a text, email, snail mail, whatever it is, those things need to be cleared out so that you have a system to tackle all of the things that are coming into your business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So this processing is what most business owners fail to do. They're not doing it at all. In fact, if they are doing it, they're doing it throughout the day. They're doing it throughout the day, and it's interrupting what they're doing, as you just mentioned. You might be going along working on a client, portfolio or whatever you're doing to try to help them. And as you're doing that, you might be interrupted by a phone call. Then what happens to your train of thought, Lawrence, when you're interrupted with a phone call for that client that you're working on?
Well, I have to review everything again to get back into the same mindset that I was. So
exactly.
It takes time.
So it takes time, and psychologists call this switch tasking. We don't actually multitask with high-level information. We can multitask with the basic pieces of information, but switch tasking, and that costs time. So if you can process and give yourself just simply 1 hour per day. So in this vision column, and most business owners are not doing this at all, but in this vision column, this is kind of what your ideal vision would look like. You'd want to have 1 hour per day that either right when you get in at 9 o'clock, Lawrence, maybe right at lunchtime or in the afternoon, that you take the time to process. We don't have time in this webinar to go over processing, but we will do that in my coaching, in the online course that I have that we can talk about a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Now, while I know you mentioned $1,000 per hour, we're going to be more realistic for this exercise and say $100 per hour is your stated. And this value per hour for processing is what your stated value per hour is. Okay. So no one else can do this for you. You might have an assistant help you to make things more streamlined, but you as the business owner need to be doing processing every day, and you're the one to do it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So now that you've been chastised, not really, but educated, we're gonna go through all these other activities, and I will personally tell you that once I learned how to do processing, it really came from the E-Myth idea, from getting things done. Even Dave Crenshaw, I can acknowledge him as the business processes behind all of this. Great things to do. It's really not the end all. It really is a beginning but it has helped me throughout my business day to be productive. I've got a lot going on. I'm a business owner myself. I've been through school, working full time. You know, I have a life outside of school with a church and community and family, and we homeschool our kids. So there's a lot of things that we do. So being productive with my time is crucial. Being able to scale it is even more crucial. So that's number one. All right. So number two, Lawrence, you're going to be doing a lot more of the talking now. I'm going to do a lot of the questioning. I'm just going to have you tell me what activities that you specifically do in your business. Just go ahead and name them. What's something that you know you do?
We've got a snail mail campaign that we're working on. So I put together mail. It takes about an hour to do that.
Okay.
That's just one part of the marketing, but then I also make the phone calls to set the appointments. I'll write a blog post once a week. Let's see, what else do I do? We'll go on appointments. When appointments are set up, then we have the client come in, and I have a home office, and then we've got an office across the valley where we bring the clients in, and so I've got that travel time that I've got to take care of. I do research and continue with education in my field, and so I'm updating off of newsletters, webinars, books. I read a lot to stay ahead of the game and to make sure that I'm fully versed on the products and services, as well as the industry and the economy as well. Things that happen on a daily basis don't make a huge impact with our clients, but it does make a huge impact on the people who don't know or don't have our products. So it impacts their life, and I've got to be aware of that. Let's see, what else do I do? Financials, updating the records, the bookkeeping, that kind of thing. Paperwork for the products and services that we do. I process those through. So as you can see, I'm pretty much a one-man show, even though I've got other people that I work with. So it's kind of
Yep, you're wearing a lot of hats, right? As a business owner, as a solopreneur, and this is what
right.
You're the ideal demographic that I work with, because this is the issue. We want to spend a lot of time helping clients, but there's so many other things to that we don't really spend all of our, the majority of our time there. So what else besides paperwork do you do? Anything else that you would say? Yeah, I'm the janitor. It sounds like you're one man show, so you clean your own office, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah, like you said, there was the processing. Of course, there's all the mail, the email, and all that kind of stuff that goes on during the day. Digging through here.
You mentioned that you have other people you work with. Are those employees? Are those business partners?
They're kind of associates that we work together. Training, yeah, training for those associates. Networking, going out to networking groups and meeting with other business owners and that kind of thing. It could be luncheons. There's even dinners, more like marketing dinners that we host and put on. Yeah, not sure what else. I'll have to think about it.
So marketing dinners, tell me about
Yes.
those.
We invite people to some place like Red Lobster and sit them down, feed them a meal, and then introduce the strategies that we have, and then that helps to set appointments and get clients that way.
Sure. Yeah. So dinner webinars or dinner seminars, right?
Luncheons or
Great.
dinners, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you may think, oh man, yeah, I do this. It takes my time. Um, I really wish I didn't have to do this.
Can't think of anything right now.
Okay. And I'm going to include something that everybody forgets, and that's wasted time.
Oh, I didn't want to say that, Travis.
I know. But we all have it, and it's what are some time wasters for you? And you don't have to give us all your time wasters, but just what are some time wasters?
Just getting burned out in a day, maybe discouraged by or frustrated with a client that's not getting it. You explain it to them a dozen different ways, they don't quite get it. It's just there could be paperwork that is not getting into the company, payments not getting into the company. I have to follow up on all that, and that takes a lot of time.
I guess what I'm saying is because I think you mentioned the paperwork up here above and some other things that you are kind of bogged down in. So maybe even client service. I think that was a new one you just mentioned, right? Servicing clients.
Yeah.
So I'll put down here client service. But then what are some time
you
wasters?
mean like Facebook?
There you go.
You mean
Social
like
media.
YouTube and okay. Yeah.
Ding.
All
Yeah.
right. Mm-hmm.
So social media, what else might you waste your time on that's not business?
Get a call from a friend and just I'll spend an hour and a half with a friend that just catching up and doing that kind of thing in the middle of the day, and yeah. Taking too long of time at lunches, just running on errands that I think have to be done, but I know on the back of my mind I could do this later. Doing things that that I want to do rather than the work that needs to be done during the day. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to put personal in there too, right? Does that sum it up?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay, great. So we're going to go back through now. Is there anything else that you would say? Any other activities?
Not unless you trigger something like you did.
Yeah, it's possible. And it's possible we throw that in here as we're working on it. This is a pretty good list. I've had some that had about 25, 26 different things that they do. And that's a long list, but this is pretty average. So if there's something else that shows up, we'll take a look at it. So tell me, define what it is you're doing with phone calls.
Phone calls is mainly, well, there's two different aspects to it. One of them is calling on new people. So it's basically cold calling and introducing our financial coaching strategies without really revealing the strategy. It's just kind of a discovery call. And hopefully we can get on an agreement where we both understand each other, and then set an appointment when we can visit. The other phone calls are follow-ups, finding out what people like or didn't like about the meeting. Is it something that you want to move forward on? Then we've got to go through the process of paperwork and all of that follow-up. Other phone calls are making sure that the all of the information is gathered, that they're happy with the strategies that we're using, and then once that's done, it's pretty much done. If they accept the strategy and start making the payments, just follow up on the paperwork, make sure that it gets processed and in the system. What other phone calls do I make?
I'm going to put it in two different categories: marketing phone calls, and then after they're interested, we're just going to call these potential client phone calls.
Okay.
Because that way they're interested and you're working with them. That is a different level of energy. That's a different level of interest, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's different from, for example, down here, client service phone calls. They're already a client, and that's a different energy. That's a different level, and so I think that's
really
good to separate that.
You are correct. That's very good. Because once you have a client, you're really on a much higher friendship level and service level with them. So that makes sense. Good.
Okay, and tell me about blog posts. With blog posts, is that something that you're writing? Is somebody else writing that? Tell me about that.
I write that, and it's something that will come up that through my week, someone comes up with a question. Hey, that would be a really good blog post idea. And then on Fridays, I try to set aside some time to do that blog post. I don't get to it weekly. It's usually every other week or month, depending on what the priority is on that, whether I have the time left over.
And then tell us about client appointments. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm off mute. Tell me about client appointments. Obviously, this is these new client appointments, or we should probably have two columns, right? With new clients, and then do you meet again with clients to continue to service them?
We do, yes. And usually the first appointment is just to get information about their financial situation and to find out just how deeply in a rut or a hole or a challenge that they have. And they could be doing very, very well and yet have a massive hole in their financial bucket that we can look at and find solution for. And then the second time is really to focus on what the strategy is. What's the best strategy to fill that hole and to create more value for the dollars that they have working for them. So it's and to come to a conclusion as to what strategy we're going to start working on, and then start building around that. So that's the second appointment. Mm-hmm.
So it's okay if we call that first appointment just kind of gathering, second strategy and sales, and then for the coaching appointments, then you're working with clients to help them implement the strategy.
Yes.
Okay, great. Traveling, do you travel to clients or just to the office?
I travel to clients as well.
Okay, so put that down there. Research, continuing ed, you mentioned that. Financials, mentioned that. Paperwork, what does the paperwork look like on your end? What is it that you're doing?
There's a couple things. First one is on that first appointment, we'll actually fill out the paperwork, which is the discovery, their financials. The second paperwork would be filling out applications and getting them sent into the office. And then gathering any more information that the home office might want to back up the information that's on their financials.
Okay.
And then the third paperwork is delivering the policy to the client.
Okay.
And getting it signed, dated, giving them their copy, taking the paperwork and sending it back to the Hope office for finalization. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're doing all that yourself right now.
Most of it. Yeah.
Okay. And then there's obviously email, mail that interrupts, voicemail, all this mail. It's trying to get your attention, all your collection points. Um, that's pretty self-explanatory, but read and decide what to do with those, right?
Process, yeah.
Yep. Okay. And because this isn't a formalized systematic, thing that I'm teaching, it doesn't have a 5-step process here. You're essentially just doing this when you have time, and you're doing it as it comes in, it's what most people do. So this is breaking up some of your day because it's not happening in a time block, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And then you do work with some other people. So tell us about training. How often are you training? Who are you training?
It's kind of a catch as catch can type of a thing. When they have an issue, when I see that they have an issue, then I may call them up and say, well, let's talk about this and what you're doing. What I like to do is put together a training module type situation, and thank goodness the office is starting to do this for us, so that I tell them basically, you need to go through this training online first, and then we'll discuss it. So I don't have a lot of agents that I'm working with right now, but the plan is in the future that I will be doing more training and getting more of those agents that I will need to be training them on that. So I really need to plan for it. It's coming.
Yeah. Okay. And so right now you're not doing a whole lot, but you are doing marketing dinners. We talked about that. So it seems like everything else pretty much has a good definition. Like I understand, and anyone else who reads this probably have a pretty good understanding of what it is you're doing. So
Okay.
That's great. Now what we want to do next is we actually want to give each of these activities a dollar per hour value. So if you had to then hire someone else to do this for you, what would be a basic, what would be a price that you would probably have to pay? And again, you're asking them to do it to the level or above that you're currently doing. Does that make sense?
Maybe.
So we'll go through this first one together, and then I'll coach you through this.
Okay.
But so if you were to hire someone to send out mail pieces for you to do your marketing, what's a dollar per hour value that you would be willing to pay that person to do it as good as you do it?
Wow, I could probably find someone at $7, $8, $10 an hour because we write it out. It's not printed. It's written to make it personal.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So $10 an hour, right?
Yeah, $10. That makes sense.
How about doing your marketing phone calls, calling new potential clients, doing follow-ups to try to get appointments so that you can meet with them?
Probably $20 an hour.
And then a potential client call where you're gathering that information.
If I was to pay somebody for that,
mm-hmm.
That's more specialized, probably 40.
Okay. And then how about writing blog posts, content like that you're doing every other week or a month?
Probably 20. I don't know. That's 20 to 40, somewhere in there.
Okay. Well, let's say 40, because that one that takes a little bit more information, but there might be pieces of this. There might be pieces of that, because this involves research, right? It involves the writing. It involves the posting and probably sending it out too, right? If you're doing any of that.
Yes.
So, it's probably 20 to 40 is a good range, depending on what you're doing.
Very good.
Now, the client appointments themselves, again, if your stated value is $100 per hour, and if you're to
That
say
would
you
be
have to,
100. Yeah.
okay, I'm figuring. Coaching appointments,
Again, 100.
yeah, that's what I figure. And then how about traveling to clients into your office? Now, this is interesting when people go, wait a minute, no one can travel for me.
Beam me up, Scotty.
I was like, well, let me get out my hologram.
Okay, now here's what I've done is that I've
Yeah.
taken, I'm old school, so I use CDs, but I listen to CDs as I travel. And
Sure.
these are not music CDs. This is marketing,
Educational stuff.
motivational. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you're trying to use that time more wisely, which makes sense, but it still doesn't reduce the fact that you have to travel to these appointments, correct?
Right.
So
they're $1 an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So here's what I ask people is, how much would you charge someone to drive you so that you could do some of these other things?
Oh, wow.
You hired a driver.
They probably want $20 an hour.
Yeah. And then research, newsletters, books, webinars. See, while you're driving, you could be doing these other things, if someone else was driving you. But what would that be?
Is that the $100 an hour?
Probably, if you're the brain, if you have to do this for your own continuing education, yeah.
It really is important. So
yeah.
I would say $100 an hour.
Now, what about the financials, the bookkeeping, updating records, sending out, whatever you need to there?
Oh, that's probably $40 an hour.
Okay. Paperwork, filling out the discovery, applications, policies, delivering those.
20.
Yeah. And janitorial work, cleaning your own office.
10.
Yeah. Opening up those emails, and the snail mail and the voicemail and replying back to people.
20.
Training these other employees as those needs arise.
Ooh, 50.
Marketing dinners, putting them on, actually
100.
going through with it, everything else. Okay. So and there's a lot here, right? There's a lot of little tasks that go with that, but okay,
there is,
in general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wasting time. Only you can do it, Lawrence. What are you at?
What is it worth? I don't know.
I'm going to go with a big fat zero.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, that's not a return on investment, is it?
No.
If it was, then, social media might be part of your marketing campaign, right? It might be part of what you're doing up here.
Not that's wasted, no.
Exactly. Okay. Networking, luncheons, dinners.
Let's see. I'm going to say 50.
And then filling out client paperwork.
40. No, great. Let's make it 20.
All right. So we've got everything $1 per hour value. Just going through that part, what are you thinking about all these different things that you're doing?
Well, I really should find somebody that I can start to put some of these tasks on, because the focus that really makes sense is in finding new clients and working with them directly.
Exactly. That's one big piece. The other piece is, if you're able to do processing, you'll actually, during that processing time, you'll keep yourself on these highest paid priority activities. Okay. Now what we're going to do next is, now we have $1 per hour value. It's easy. It would be easy for me just to say, well, let's line these up and prioritize these based on what you get paid. But in reality, you don't work and you don't do what you like to do just because of what you get paid. You do it because of fulfillment, don't you?
Right. Yes.
You do some tasks because I actually really like doing that, and that's okay. But if you were to tell me, Dr. Perry, I want to do all of these tasks because I love them all, I'm saying, well, then you're going to continue to be at $40 an hour. you're going to be continue to be at that, at this mark where, you're basically being paid to do your books, right? If you want to get to $100 an hour, if you want to double your income, you've got to be able to delegate. You've got to be able to do this processing so that both your business systems and these personal systems that you have will work together to help you to scale your practice. So what I'm going to ask you now is we're actually going to go through a very quick prioritization exercise that I do for my clients on their financial situation, on their business situation. It's something that you can use going forward, Lawrence, if you'd like. I learned this from a guy named Doug Carter, and at a very high level, training that I did with him, it just blew my mind. I can't believe, I haven't seen this before. I use it now almost every day. So that said, I'm going to simply ask you, and since processing is number one, you can't trump it. It's already in bold. Nothing you can do.
All right.
But I am going to ask you between these two things, and I'm just going to ask you, don't think of chicken before the egg. I'm just going to simply say marketing or marketing phone calls. And you're going to tell me, obviously we have dollar per hour over here, but that doesn't always trump it. What I want you to think of is, what is this getting, how much is this returning investment on my time? And what, do I enjoy doing it? Because I think those two things, the dollars and the value that you enjoy, potentially doing these activities and tasks, do have a value. So then I want you to basically tell me, one or the other, because the question I'm going to ask you is, if you can only have one, marketing, doing the marketing campaigns or marketing phone calls, if you could only have one, which one would you do?
The marketing phone calls, because they actually get some results.
Yeah. Now, marketing phone calls or potential client phone calls, which one?
Potential client phone calls.
Potential client phone calls or blog posts?
Potential client calls.
Potential client calls or client appointments?
Appointments.
Client appointments or coaching appointments?
Client appointments.
Client appointments or traveling?
Client appointments.
Client appointments or research?
Client appointments.
Client appointments and financials?
Client appointments.
Client appointments and paperwork?
Paperwork. Wait.
Which one would you rather do?
I'd rather be filling out applications.
So then this might have a greater value per hour. That's interesting. Then you put it, but
well, the reason for that, Travis,
yeah,
is because it means I've got a new client.
Yes, and I think that is the if I can step away, that is what's happened to or that's actually what psychologists refer back to. We're in this world of notifications come to us all the time, right? Like likes. And, so this to you symbolizes, when you're filling out applications, dollar signs, right? This symbolizes that.
Correct.
But the actual filling out of those applications, if you had to do one and you could only do one, would you rather be filling out applications or having client appointments?
Client appointments.
Yeah. Client appointments or janitorial?
Client appointments.
Client appointments or emails and voicemail?
Client appointments.
Client appointments and training?
Client appointments.
Client appointments and marketing dinners?
Client appointments.
And we're putting wasted time at the bottom. Client appointments and networking?
Client appointments.
Client appointments and client service? That's client paperwork. That's
client appointments. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay. So client appointments is your number 2 priority. Now notice that this wasn't all about money, because we went over some that were equal in value, and it was clear that client appointments are what you should be doing. So next to processing, client appointments should be your number 2. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So then we'll go back up here, and I know we did marketing all the way down to client appointments, and it came down to client appointments and client coaching. So we'll go marketing and coaching appointments.
Coaching appointments would be
Co-
number two,
yep.
three. Yeah, okay.
Coaching appointments or traveling?
Coaching,
Coaching or research?
coaching,
Coaching and financials?
coaching,
Coaching and paperwork?
coaching,
Coaching and janitorial?
coaching,
Coaching and emails, voicemail?
coaching,
Coaching and training?
coaching.
Coaching and marketing dinners?
Let me revisit this. Coaching appointments with clients to help them.
And don't think chicken before the egg. Just think of, if I could only have one, which one would I do?
Yeah, coaching.
Coaching and networking?
Coaching.
Coaching and client paperwork, client service?
Coaching.
That's what I thought. So really, when it comes down to it, you want to be with clients and you want to be helping them. You want to be coaching them.
Right.
So we'll go marketing and traveling.
Marketing.
Marketing and research.
Research.
Research and financials.
Research.
Research and paperwork.
Research.
Research and janitorial.
Research.
Research and emails, mails, voicemail.
Research.
Research and training.
Research.
Research and marketing dinners.
I'm going to say, boy, that's a good question. Let's do marketing dinners.
Marketing dinners or networking?
Marketing dinners.
Marketing dinners and client service.
Marketing dinners.
Okay, so that would be your number 4.
Yeah.
And now we got to research. Research went all the way down to marketing. So research and networking.
Research.
Research and client service.
Research.
Okay. No surprise there. Obviously, these are your highest dollar per hour value activities, but they also apparently are the things you value the most. And we can do this same exercise and probably take all of these. Well, let's keep going for a couple more and I'll show you.
Well,
it's not just about dollar
number
per hour.
6 would be training.
Number 6 is training. Yeah, I saw that. But as we're going down, it'd be marketing and financials, marketing paperwork. You get all the way to training, and then training would trump the rest, right?
Yes.
So you see how we do this.
Right.
We go through and it's trumping each one, and where we stop, then we continue on with that one and so on. And you can do this with the rest of them. But for sake of time, what we're going to do is we're going to take these, and I'm going to go ahead and add. I'm going to move this around just a little bit so you can see this, how this works. All right. Whoops. Let me go back. Word. There we go. Okay. So then I'm going to take these 2 activities here. I'm going to move this up. I'm going to take number 4 and 6. Move these up. And now you can clearly define what it is that you should be spending most of your time on in a day, right? It's pretty simple.
Right.
So what else we're going to do is we're going to now take the rest of these. And if you were completing this, I would say go ahead and finish all of these. So these are all prioritized. But I can give you a hint, wasted time is last. Wasted time should be 0. But what we're going to look at now is, well, how many hours then are you actually doing each of these? And as I clean this up, I'm going to ask you that. So Lawrence, how many hours on an average week are you actually with clients for client appointments, just on an average week?
Oh, I'm going to say Uh, well, okay. Part of this, the answer to this is that I went through the slow months of November and December. So
Yeah.
January is a pickup month. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. We have seasons in all of our businesses, right?
you're
There's
right.
things that, yeah,
Yeah.
seasonal.
So right now it's only about 4 hours a week.
Okay. So about 4 hours a week is current. And how about coaching appointments? How many hours a week typically on an average week?
Let's say 8 right now.
Okay. Research,
Um, 10.
marketing dinners,
2.
training,
Right now it's only about 2.
traveling,
Um, 5.
financials.
Oh, let's put 10 on the traveling. Sorry.
You're good.
Financials. There's, let's say 7.
Okay. Paperwork,
About 7.
janitorial,
1.
emails and voicemails and everything.
Hmm. I'm gonna say probably 10.
Networking, luncheons, dinners.
Um, About 4. No, let's say 6.
Okay. And what about client service or marketing?
Client service. We're looking at 10. Marketing. Let's see, about 10.
How about marketing phone calls?
About 10.
Okay, and these are all a week, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's potential client calls.
Um, Probably 20.
And blog posts?
2.
Wasted
40.
time.
I don't know. Too much.
Too much. Yeah. So if we just do some quick math, it's way over your 60. I'm sure of it, right? I mean, that's 12, 22, 24, 34, 14, that's 58, 68, plus 7, 75. And if we did these others, 10, 20, 30, it's 100. It's probably a lot more than you've estimated here. We've got
Woo-hoo,
over
I
like
don't get
100
any
hours.
sleep. Yeah.
That's it. So I'm going to say we probably, and this is typical. Usually this hour right here, these hours are a lot more than what we currently think we're working. So that's point number one. Without a fail, there's only been one that I've ever interviewed that she was actually only about an hour and a half off. Okay. So I get it, but this is a pretty big indiscretion. So I'm going to say, for most people, what I have them do is actually start tracking what they're actually doing. This tells me that right now you're either excuse me, you're either way overestimating here, which might be
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah.
You think you're doing more, or you really think that you're spending a lot more time at home than you are. And so it might be a combination of both, right?
Okay.
So the way to fix this is to do a time tracker and just do a simple spreadsheet and maybe set a timer on your phone and just say every half an hour, what did I do this last half hour? And it's interesting with research because I've done a lot of research and we found out that with research with humans, as soon as we tell them we're researching something, their behavior does what? Does it stay the same or change? If you just say, yeah, we're going to test you on this, what happens?
I would imagine it would change.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Every single time when people know that they're being watched, they're gonna change their behavior because they don't want to be viewed as less than average, as weak, right? And you're good. I appreciate you being vulnerable here and showing us the things that you're dealing with, because this is very typical of so many business owners. You overstate your value per hour. You probably overestimate what it is that you can get done. Like, this is a 100+ hour work week. There's no way you do this. If you did, there's some serious issues, right?
Right.
Most
Okay.
workaholics identify as working over 50 hours per week. Yet in America, we're just okay with that. We're okay with all being workaholics because it's for a cause. It's for our clients. It's for the world. It's going to change. It's for the children, right? Whatever,
Right. It's
whatever
for the
excuse
family.
we,
Hmm.
yeah, whatever excuse we give ourselves, it's not good enough, because if you are overworking like this, that means your stress levels, your health, your mental awareness, how you can be for your clients. Number one is impaired. Number two, when you do get home, if you spend any time at home, what quality of time do you really have? Even if it's, well, I'm spending quality time. Yeah, we actually know that quality time plus quantity time is best. You need to be there and you need to be present. But if you're a workaholic, most likely you're not doing either of those. And so in general, Lawrence, I'd say, yeah, I think we need to track this. But for the sake of our workshop today, we want to look at, well, then how do you get to the point where these are the main things that you're doing? Um, what I'm going to ask you to do is fill out this vision column. That's your homework. Okay. With the vision column, you're going to ask yourself, in 90 days, where could I get? Not your vision for when you're going to retire, or when your business is just so productive, right? But in 3 months, take a pretty short season, a season in America or in anywhere, in any place. I mean, certain parts of America, in Utah, at least where you're at, is you have seasons. We all have seasons. Every 90 days, there is a new season. So for your business life, I want you to think of that as in 90 days. What is the vision for this season? And let's just start with these first six. I'll let you do the rest of these. But if you were to say, okay, Travis, I only want to work X number of hours per week, what would that be for you?
How many hours I would want to work?
Yes. How many hours is ideal for you in 3 months, 90 days? Where would you like to be working? How many hours a week would you like to be working?
I would really like to work only 40 hours a week.
Yeah. So again, very typical business owner, 60 to 70 hours that you're most likely working. But you've got this 40-hour work week that you'd love to be working, right? So we need to figure out, how do we scale that down? And here's how we're going to start this. You need to be right off the bat, in order to get to 40. It seems counterintuitive. Well, wait a minute. I'm adding 5 hours to my schedule already. Yes. These 5 hours are going to help you to actually deal with these 10 hours that you're probably messing up a whole bunch of other things. Does that make
Gotcha.
sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So we want to start you. That's doctor's orders, prescription for you is to process. Okay. And then the second thing that you need to be doing the most of is your client appointments. So in 90 days, on average, how many hours to be working with client appointments?
I would like to work with appointments 4 hours a day. That would be ideal.
So 20 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many coaching appointments hours per week would you say?
Well, on that first one, setting appointments, the first appointment, that kind of thing, I would do maybe 3
Okay.
hours a day, and then setting a point or with a client 3 hours a day. But that
Mhm.
seems pretty heavy if I'm just going to do 40 hours a week.
So would you like to change client appointments?
Yeah, to 3 hours a day.
It's about three. Okay, so about 12. Yeah, 15. So
15,
15 a week, and then coaching appointments.
like 15 a week. Yeah.
15 a week. Okay, so there's your 40 right there. You still have at least these other three to do.
Yeah.
So you probably in 90 days you can make a change, but this is very typical. We want to like make huge changes, right?
Okay, so what
changes.
I would really like to do is train other agents to help with the load.
That's it. Yeah, and that's going to be part of this. So tell me about let's go these other three. Maybe we adjust the vision a little bit. But
Well,
for
the marketing dinners would begin to
okay.
is, let's put it as one, because we do it like every other week instead of just weekly.
Sure. 4 hours a month. And then what about your research? This one might be, maybe you're too heavy on the research.
Yeah. 5.
Okay. So 5 hours a week. And then training. So if you're thinking I need to train other people so they can do all these other things below or do some of these other, issues, that might be a little bit higher.
Well, no, it'd be about 2, because I can do a webinar and train a bunch.
Okay. So then the rest of your homework here is to figure out, all right, where do I want to spend the rest of my hours? Because at this point, we're at 30, 40, 45, 46. We're at 47, which going from, someplace between 60 and 100, that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Even if it is 60, even if some of this is wrong and you estimate it wrong, 60 to 47, that's actually a pretty doable change in 90 days. But what I'd have you do is go in and say, okay, well, which ones need to be 0? And I think that is this first step. You've conquered the first step. The first step is knowing, hey, I need a process. Second is really, okay, I need to do these highest valued tasks so that I can be most effective. And look what you naturally did. In those things that really are the $100 per hour, that's where you're going to be spending most of your time. That's about 41 hours of your time, actually 45 hours of your time. So maybe I did the math wrong. Yeah, I did. 35, 40, 48, I bet. Okay. So that said, the rest of these things below, as much as possible, you can delegate. And that's what's hard, is saying, okay, I've got to delegate. And some of the things, we could spend a whole hour on this, is delegating involves training that person, seeing that they actually go through and do what they've been asked, follow up with that person. So you need to probably do some either hiring or I have a business partner, Eddie Mihala, and he does a virtual assisting. And what he does is he'll actually match you up with all of these different things that you are needing to do. He'll actually match you up with a virtual assistant that he chooses that are, English-speaking Americans that can help you in all of these different areas. So that's something that we can look at to help with scale. So either A, you've got to hire somebody, or you've got to partner with someone else to get some of these tasks done, to get them off your plate. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, definitely. Very much.
And then the only way that you can, that's kind of the short term to get you to 90 days. Long-term scaling is then you take these things that you're doing here and figure out how you can replicate that with other people or other systems so that you can move to a next level. And maybe that next level is you're just doing marketing dinners, you're just doing speaking, you're just writing. Maybe you're just doing these parts and other people are doing this part. And that depends on what you like to do. That depends on how big you want to build it, how big you want to scale your business. You follow me, Lawrence?
I am. That makes total sense. Yeah.
So this is where we're going to have to leave for sake of time, for your time and for mine, for the webinar, this workshop. But I think if you apply this to anyone out there who's watching this, if you're an attorney, if you are a banker, if you're a real estate agent, whatever you're doing, you've got to be able to get to those highest paid, highest valued tasks. And really just the 5 or 6, maybe even 7, just those what I call the top third. As you go through and you do the rest of these prioritization, Lawrence, you're going to find a middle third. And it's probably things like financials, traveling, networking, some of the things that you probably need to be doing. You can't necessarily send someone to do yet, but eventually you can. But some of the things like janitorial, marketing, wasted time, client service, marketing phone calls, those things are probably, if I was to look at it just by what you valued here on the dollar side, those are probably your lower third. Those you want to get rid of as soon as possible. So that would be my plan of attack, is to get rid of those bottom third, have a plan in place to delegate the middle third, and really be able just to focus most of your time on the top third. Now, a little plug for this process, Lawrence. How was it for you? This was non-scripted. This is very natural. Going through this process with me, what was it like for you?
Well, it really opened my eyes. It helped me to, I think prioritizing is very powerful. Looking at the time that I'm using in these different areas will help me be able to focus on what's the most important. I realized that I have an office secretary that's I could be putting a bunch of this on to, and
Right.
I'm going to be doing that very shortly.
Excellent.
The rest of it, I really need to look at what I can fit into a week and make that real.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. It's good feedback. Was this it's kind of like going to the dentist. It's kind of like teeth pulling at first. It probably hurts a little bit.
Much prefer a cleaning than teeth pulling.
Right. The preventative medicine's a lot better. But at this point where you're at, and I'm going to go back to this time management worksheet. This is what I do for most of my clients, is I help them to figure out how can they scale their business practices. What are they doing right now? What do they need to be doing? And even the fact that your first takeaway is, I'm going to start offloading this, that is going to help you right away. But the natural thing is to be more productive at work. But what most business owners lack is the personal boundaries and really the ability to then not fill that time back up. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it does.
So what I offer, much like what you do, is I offer a discovery call. And if you're interested in that, if anybody out there watching this, recording wants to jump on a discovery call and go through this process with me, I can help you. Anyone out there, business owners, self-employed professionals, especially financial professionals, be able to know, hey, this is what's keeping me from putting a system in place. A business system that we've been talking about, but most importantly, personal systems. And it typically is limiting blocks, beliefs, those things that are psychologically, that's the individual system, but also relationally. It might come down to family issues here. I'm running a family business, or my spouse isn't really as supportive, or there might be some systems there that aren't working that can help you in your business. That's what I specialize in doing. Most time management guys that are out there, they do a really good job of doing some of the things that we just were talking about in this business time management. But I find that a lot of people, they get productive only to just continue to work. They never really break away. They may even scale their businesses till they're making millions, but they're still working 70 to 80 hours a week. And that's where I come in. That's my market difference. And that's what I provide my clients, is a discovery call to help them uncover what it is that might be keeping them in the current circumstance. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you, Lawrence, for being our guinea pig, our example.
It's very helpful. Thank you, Travis.
And I'll send this all to you, Lawrence, as my gift for today. And I know we'll be in touch. Everyone else, thanks for sticking around. Email me at travis@travisperry.com. Or you can also go to travisperry.com/discovery call and fill out the application. to get on a call with me. Looking forward to speaking with you all then. Thank you very much.